on the left, there's 10 3v3 fields. The one on the right, there's 2 9v9 fields. Across, going with the flag football fields, there'll be 3 7v7 fields.
Step into the Fieldhouse, your front row seat to legendary victories and untold stories. Hey, I'm your host, Lance Lunner, breaking down sports from the inside out, along with co-host Jimmy Lackey. It's more than just a game. It's the Fieldhouse Podcast. Hey, welcome into the Fieldhouse Podcast. We're co-hosts here, Lance Lunner and Jimmy Lackey, the man here at Kids Inc. And we are a production of the Kids Inc. Sports Network. Proud of that as well. And we have a tradition here. Well, first I got to ask you my question always of the day. What's the best thing that happened to you today? And in all honesty, we do these in the morning sometimes. Yeah. So you haven't had a lot of your day, but what is the best thing?
So I have always ordered I've ordered caps, and I make either a brand or a logo or something for all my grandkids.
Oh, really?
So every one of them, I've got 5 grandkids, newest one being our first girl. And she's 4 months old today, and they called me last night and said her caps were ready. So I picked them up early this morning. So I've got her caps, and they look pretty sharp.
And you come up with a logo for each grandkid.
Every grandkid has their own logo. Yep, and so they get.
Do they wear these hats?
They can if they want to, but they're my version of cigars. Everybody gets caps. I buy lots of caps, give them to.
That's cool.
I give them to the parents, and they can give them to whoever they want, and I keep about a dozen for me. So
that's cool.
Yeah, so I spend a little money on caps, but
that's pretty unique.
They're pretty cool. And then on their first birthday every year, they all get some kind of Yeti mug or something with their logo on it when they turn 1.
Is that right?
Teddy turned 1 Saturday, and so I got them those ones that have the little handle on the top and that has the straw on it.
Yeah.
They love
stuff.
Those 26-ounce deals. They love that, so everybody's carrying around their little jug the other day. So that's kind of what Granddad.
Wow, that's
What G-Dad does. Yeah,
I like that.
Caps when you're
born.
What
do they call you, G-Dad?
G-Dad.
G-Dad. Wow.
Mm-hmm. So. I'll tell
That's
you.
pretty
I'm
cool.
gonna tell you a funny story, and this is, I don't like promoting me, but this is a funny story. So, Jayla's at the grocery store, and George was a little younger, and he's sitting in the shopping cart, and they're at the checkout stand. And a couple of years ago, Carolina did a story about Kids Inc., and we were on the cover of Accent West. Had me and a couple of kiddos from Kids Inc. on the cover, and George is just sitting there, and he goes, "That G-Dad." She's like, "What?" He goes, "That G-Dad." She looks up, and those magazines were sitting right there, but it was so nonchalant for him.
Like just
that's G-Dad. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's
he coined the
cool.
name G-Dad. Yeah. So.
All right, Maddie's off the air, but what's the best thing that happened to Maddie today?
Man, she buried her head.
I can repeat this. What is it? I've caught Maddie off guard. I do it on my radio. While you're thinking, I do it on my radio show. And, I have some consistent guests, and they always come up with something clever. But the majority of people just say, "Hey, I was glad to wake up today."
Oh, yeah.
And I know
that's
sounds
every day.
Cliche, but I love that.
No, not at my age.
But here's what I've learned. Even for teenagers, anybody out there, I mean, I know you think it's, what a weird question, but it really does open up a conversation because a teenager has to answer that without a yes or a no. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it shows
So
I like the question.
I don't imagine there's a single teenager listening to me right now, but I'm going to tell you, there's going to come a day when it hurts when you move in the morning and you get up and everything hurts. It's coming. It's going to happen.
I did my walk with Teddy ball game today, and my left knee is just been acting up.
Zip went to the groomer this morning, so he wasn't real happy. But
yeah.
I'd take him to the groomer this morning.
What do you think, Maddie?
Boy, Nick, good job.
Now, does it have to be this? What's your favorite coffee? I mean, what?
Regular coffee.
Just
creamer.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. That is cool. Good job, hubby. Good job out there. Yeah, you're right. There's no teenagers watching, but I will say this: a couple of coaches have used that, which I'm happy with. Like, hey, I asked my team today, what's the best thing that happened to you today? And it kind of freaks people out. Like, what do you mean? Just what's the best thing that happened today, and they have to think about it just for a sec.
Talking about coffee, Kim and I call ourselves coffee snobs because we like certain kinds of coffee. But it's all home brewed coffee. I do not buy coffee at the coffee house. I
think that is a little snobbish.
If I do go, I just get black coffee and I'll put some creamer in it. But I will tell you, when people ask me, what is your favorite coffee? I tell them Toot and Totem's Texas Pecan Coffee. I love that coffee.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
So I asked Andrew one day, I said, I got to know where you get this. And so he gave me actually Carl gave me where they got it. So I ordered a bunch of boxes of it. It comes in little 2-ounce full packets, and you can make 2 per pack. So we started buying that. And then my brother-in-law works for H-E-B's meat buyer for H-E-B. He started bringing us a pecan coffee that they carry. That's the beans. And so Kim got a little grinder, a little cheap grinder, and we actually grind the beans, and that is good stuff.
Wow, you guys are way into it.
That's good stuff.
I don't know what happened to me, but maybe when I was little, I tried my mom or dad's cup of coffee and hated it. Yeah. So even everybody loves that smell, I despise that smell. I don't know why.
I didn't start drinking coffee until mid-40s.
I've never drinking coffee.
Mid-40s.
It's kind of strange, I drink too much Mountain Dew, but right. but coffee has never.
You know what? You be you, and everybody else, you be you.
I'm okay with it. I love it. I love it, and people do love that. So, hey, Jimmy, this is number 47. Really, if you look at the history of great players who've wore 47, not that many in all of sports. It's just one of those numbers. Yeah. By the way, that's what Jalen Conyers is wearing for the Miami Dolphins.
Saw a good picture of him the other day in their workout gear.
Yeah, so that's my new favorite 47.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I got to throw John Lynch in there. He came to I know he's a Tampa Bay guy. I know he's San Francisco's GM and all that, or president, whatever his title is, and does great stuff there. But for me, his time with the Broncos, a big Broncos fan here, was significant. They played so well when he was there, and brought that. He's kind of a corny dude, but brought the physicality that he played with. Not that we were used to that with Steve Atwater, but just a great guy for the locker room, coach's dream, because he's going to do what he's expected to do day in and day out without drama.
Yep.
He's a non-drama guy.
Yep. I had 2. Lynch gets the nod for me because, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. Mel Blount was another one.
Ooh, Mel Blount.
With the Steelers.
Yes.
Back in the day, he was just cool, calm, and collected, but boy, he was tough.
Yeah.
And but Lynch gets the nod, and I'll tell you why. In my opinion, and you can take that with a grain of salt, I think he's one of the best GMs in the league too. And you watch him on the sidelines with the players. He's like a player's coach, but he's that GM, and he's not like Jerry Jones. He's not like anybody else. He's been there.
Yeah.
He played that game. That makes them respect him because they know exactly what you're talking about. He was tough, and but he's that players type guy.
Yeah, that's a great point, man.
And then with the success, probably one of the best coaching staffs in the league.
One thing a guy like that does is he figures out, and I'm sure they all try to, but he does it. He figures out the piece that the 49ers need that year to help them get better. And it might be a backup tackle. It might be, but that piece he goes and tries to help his coaches out do the best
because
he
he
can.
listens to them.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that
about him.
They have ownership in the mission of what they're doing there. And I think top to bottom.
As a true Cowboys fan, you don't like 49ers at all, do you?
Well, I was a big Montana fan back in the day because John Ayers played there. I knew John. And so I'm a big 49ers fan. I've told you, when we went to John's funeral, all those guys that came in, much respect for all those guys that came in. Bill Walsh, George Seifert even. But, I was a 49ers fan.
I'm not a big collector of jerseys and all, but I do have a Joe Montana. But guess what? It's a Kansas City Chief.
19, yeah.
It's a Kansas City Chief jersey.
When he wore 19?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not his 49er days, so yeah. Hey, we have a very special Fieldhouse podcast. Jimmy has decided to or offered up, and I'm thrilled for this, to kind of take us into Rockrose. Once it's built, what's going to happen there and how things are going. So I'm going to kind of give the show to you. I had one question for you before we get into this, if you don't mind. Did you notice Rob Manfred, the Major League Baseball commissioner, has reinstated Pete Rose anybody who's
Several
deceased.
of them. Yeah, there's
Shoeless Joe.
yeah. Too late.
Tell me why, though. If you're banned from baseball, you're banned, okay, unfortunately. I don't agree with the banning of Pete Rose because of this. As a manager, yes, he gambled. I don't think it's proven that he gambled while he played. So put him in as a player, put on his plaque that he was busted for gambling, but on his own team. But what's the point? What if you're a family member? Why didn't you do this while they're alive?
Man, you're opening up a can of worms with me. It's like any other Hall of Fame or anything like that. And I'll just say it because everybody has their opinions, and I don't state my opinions very often. But I'm gonna come out on this one, and I'm gonna use Panhandle Sports Hall of Fame as an example. When David Jones and I sat down, and he started asking us if we would, be the managing arm of the Texas Panhandle Sports Hall of Fame, I said, David, we're happy to help. I mean, it's something that needs a home. It needs its attention, and we're happy to help. But I said, I want to throw a couple things at you. And you got to remember, this has been, golly, a long time ago.
Yeah.
Lombard wasn't in. Barker wasn't in. You got people like that. And I said, what are you waiting on? And I know that their thinking is, if they do something wrong, shame on us. And that was the reasoning behind what I was given. 2 or 3 different committee members gave me back then, is we just want to make sure they finish their career in an upstanding fashion. If you're not certain about a Joe Lombard or a Jan Barker or those shoe-in type candidates, retirement's going to convince you of that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I kind of like
so
that.
I don't like taking the chance of not getting to do it. Let's think about this. Chris Ketting.
Yeah.
Leslie Broadhurst.
Yeah.
You just don't know when things change in the world.
No, you're right.
And man, if they're up on that pedestal and they're deserving, let's get them in.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I think the retirement thing is, maybe I'm stuck on that, and maybe you just opened my eyes to that. It's kind of like the death thing, you know what I mean? All of a sudden, here's the one thing, though, Jimmy, I will say real quick on the MLB thing. Just because they've been reinstated, he has nothing to do with the vote. Mm-hmm. So the voters have spoken over and over, kind of no steroid people, no gamblers, things like that. So I think it'll still be difficult for like a Pete Rose to get in. But here's my deal. The world's not perfect. These players aren't perfect. We put them up on a pedestal. We still do that today, and that's okay. I mean, I get it. But some of them are very shady people off the field, okay? Just wouldn't be somebody I would want to hang with, respect, and with their actions. That's their life. That's okay. But on the field, a Barry Bonds, a Roger Clemens,
McGuire, all of them.
Yeah. They Pete Rose, they deserve to be in. So that's just my thought. But just so everybody knows, just because Rob Manfred made this, I guess this new bylaw in for Major League Baseball with these names, once they pass away, that they become eligible. Doesn't mean the Hall of Fame will vote them in. No. It's voters are, and baseball writers used to be hardcore, like, how ridiculous. We've had one person in unanimously, because they didn't want anybody first ballot. You know what I mean? Mariano Rivera is the one guy. And as he should be, but so should Babe Ruth, so should Mickey Mantle, so should even Nolan Ryan, who impacted the game the way he did.
Jackie Robinson.
That's just my thought. But just wanted to give you a heads up that it's not a done deal just because this is done.
Yeah, well, and I'm not picking on Panhandle Sports Hall of Fame from this perspective. We have a list this long of people that are been nominated. There's probably 400 or 500 people in that book.
Yeah,
they're never all going to get in there.
Yeah,
and I don't misunderstand what I'm saying. My point is, if there's somebody out there and a Joe Lombard or a Jan Barker and those type people, they've won state championship. I mean, Jack Wilson, Brenda Kitten. Go back in the day when they're in. Well, if they're in, get them in.
Yeah.
Don't wait.
Think of the volleyball coach at Bushland.
Yep, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So, enough of that.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to ask you on that one today.
Sure.
Since,
I did see it.
Yeah.
I'm like you. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I think that's a wait and see type thing. So, hey, take it away. I'm anxious to see what you have to say today.
Well, first thing I'm going to say is if you listen to our podcast on one of the audio mediums, Spotify, Apple, or any of those mediums out there, I'm going to really encourage you on this one, if you have time, to go over to our website at fieldhousepodcast.org. Or you can go to kidsinc.org and click the button down there and get to it. And click on this episode 47, and it's going to take you to the video version of our podcast today.
Nice.
And the reason I want them to do that is because of the slideshow that we've prepared. And Maddie will show them up close on the screen when we're talking about certain things. But I want to give them a sneak peek and make everybody understand up front that what you're going to see here are preliminary drawings. They're just preliminary sketches. But the architects have done a great job of really bringing this project to life, of what, probably 80-85% of it will end up looking like. There will be some last-minute changes, and I can walk you through a couple of those, but I want people to see a little bit of the legs of what we're going on here. So without further ado, I'll just pull this up. But this is the Rockrose Sports Park, and these renderings are done by Sims Architects here in town. They are the architects for our project. General contractors are Southwest General Contractors, and our engineer is Dustin Davis over at GDI. So that's our construction team. We actually have a meeting tomorrow to start planning for site plans being submitted hopefully next month and getting to the bidding process here for too long. But this is just kind of an aerial view, and I've got some better pictures, but I'm going to just walk you through them a little bit. But there's a 40,000-foot view from top to bottom, and you can see a little bit about where this lies. So over on the right side of your screen is the Loop. The top of the screen is Coulter, and then you can see behind the Sports World down there on the bottom where the go-kart tracks are, Premier Drive dead ends right there, basically where that parking lot starts for the complex. That's where it dead ends right now.
Yeah, okay.
So the two roads.
That's Preston West, the par 3.
Par 3 golf course, the driving range.
Skating rink.
You can see the XL booster plant.
Yeah.
And then the skateplex.
Yeah. Everybody kind of knows then where we're at.
Yeah, and then that apartment complex on the west side of the road there, and then the interchange. So just off your screen to the right is the new Market Street.
Yeah, okay. Gotcha.
The movie theater is down there on the bottom right.
Right. Okay, so we all know where we're at now.
Yeah, so this is southwest corner of town as you're leaving toward Canyon. You can catch a little blip of I-27 there right above the Kids Inc. logo down the bottom left corner.
Yes.
So I-27's down there. So the road that dead ends right behind Sports World, those are the two roads that we've been talking about all this time. We'll start right there, and you'll see the extension drawing going down to the left, or which is to the south. And then you see a new road that's going to connect I-27 frontage road to Coulter.
Okay, yes.
So those are the two roads that were approved by City Council last April. Here we are, May 14th, a year later. And through all the discussions and all the stuff that's gone on with AEDC and all those issues being settled in the background, we've had to wait for engineers to be able to have the authorization to put the pedal to the metal on those two roads. Those are out of our scope. Those are not Kids Inc. projects. Those are Rockrose development projects. So the extension of Premier Drive coming off the loop there, going down to the new road that will go east-west, and then that new road, that's what's in the makings right now. Those are under engineering contracts with the AEDC, and those are being designed and planned as we speak. The good news for us is they hired the same engineer that we hired.
Nice.
So the two of those can work kind of together. They can work those very well together and work from the same documents. At the same time, up at the top on Coulter, the city has hired Joe Shane to do the expansion of Coulter from the loop down to Sundown Lane. And you don't get to Sundown Lane on this picture here, but all the way down to Sundown, they're going to expand Coulter to a 4-lane road with a turn lane.
Interesting.
So that is under discussions and plans right now as well. And so we've been meeting with Joe and their crew. So our engineers and their engineers have to get together at that intersection where Coulter and that new road are going to meet. They have to get, that's when we talk about drainage, those have to meet perfectly so that all drainage plans for Coulter will run to that point, and then everything will run down to the east side under 27 to those playa lakes.
Okay.
So if you're driving down I-27 right now, and you see those constructions on those culverts under I-27, there's a lot of water going that direction to the playas because we've had all this rain. Well, if you look, they added concrete banks over on the east side. That's going to help funnel. And then my understanding is they're going to dredge those playas even further, deeper out there because they have long-term plans to build around those playas as well. And, I'm speaking out of turn there. That's a Rockrose discussion, not a Kids Inc. discussion. But it all ties in because everything just to the top on the top of our screen here, that's Coulter. About halfway to Sauncey, everything from that point halfway up and down slopes our way. Everything else slopes to the west. And if you're familiar up there where the Loop and Sauncey are, there's a retainage pond right there on that corner as well, and all that drainage for there goes to that retainage pond. So when we've been talking about all this drainage, that's a big piece of it. The last thing I'll say about this picture here is if you're looking at Coulter and you go down to I-27, there's about a 20-foot drop in elevation. It doesn't look like it. It looks like our land out there is just flat.
Yeah, right. I agree.
It's not. There's almost a 20-foot drop. It's about 18 feet from Coulter to I-27.
Wow.
As you go across there, if you take a line on a survey line, it drops 18 feet to I-27.
Okay.
Therein lies your drainage discussion because that's how everything drains. So now we've got to take dirt and move it from west to east to get our fields level while at the same time addressing what drainage concerns are we going to have once we flatten that land. And then all the drainage systems underneath the turf, because we have drainage systems under all the turf, feed into pipes, and then TxDOT will tell us where they want those to feed to those culverts. And so it's an interesting process.
It's a big project.
It's huge.
Wow.
And so there's just a lot of moving parts in it and a lot of people that have to sign off on this thing for it to happen. But we're there, and so we're hoping that we're putting shovels in the ground sometime late July, early August. That's the plan right now. Here's a different view. So you can really kind of start to take hold here. One of the discussions that we're having right now, and this has been a discussion from the get-go, if you look at the two baseball fields, if you notice the field on the right, kind of at the bottom, is different shaped than the others. So all the other 7 fields are 300-foot fences, okay? But that one over on the right of this lower quad is built with the footprint of Hodgetown. And the reason we did that is because Amarillo College needs a practice field. And so we brought them into the discussions early on about possibly giving them a practice field here if we can make this happen. And so that's why that field will be a little different than the rest of them.
Interesting, yeah.
Because they're practicing at Rick Klein, they're practicing at Amarillo High, anywhere they can. Those kids are living out of their trunks of their cars. So they're even talking about, do we need to get a locker room for them out there and those type things. So we're working with Amarillo College as much as we possibly can to the extent they want to be involved.
Yeah.
But we want a field that's size-wise big enough for them to practice on, and if necessary, play a game on.
Yeah.
Like this year, Hodgetown was under renovations. They played a lot of their conference games at WT and Wayland.
And in Plainview, you're right.
If we could have had a field for them here,
they would have done that in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah, it saved them a ton of money.
Yeah.
And the only thing that Coach Raines did is he asked, so the one difference that you'll see coming forward is that field is going to be moved over to the left side down by the parking lot. He wanted it shaped the same direction as Randall. I thought it was really interesting. He said, I don't want the wind at our back all the time. I don't like 20-run games. I want there to be some defense involved.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So
it is.
So those two on our on the newer plans have flip-flopped.
And Randall's just across I-27 directly and from those fields,
And so it would be this bottom left picture there. That's how
interesting.
Little things like that. But
and he's a hitter, not a pitcher.
Yeah.
So I would think it would be the other way.
But from top left of the screen,
I love that.
is southwest prevailing winds.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
In the Panhandle.
Yeah, for sure.
Texas Panhandle.
Yeah,
so.
One question, obviously you're going to get to it, but the parking looks amazing. Mm-hmm. So how big is this parking lot, and how many spaces will there
About
be?
1,650 parking places.
Wow.
are in the.
And they go from all the way around to the.
All the way to Coulter, back to the edge of our roads, all the way to the north, and back around on the.
Yeah, very clean looking. Yeah. Very clean. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got, and then if you notice, there's a little bit of empty space up at the top right. That's where hopefully phase 2 will be for the indoor building. And got to get this one done first, then we'll immediately start on an indoor.
You know, knock on wood, but the pie in the sky dream is to have an indoor facility there, which will be an indoor track.
Track
Jimmy,
and basketball
right?
and volleyball courts.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that later, but that's what that the sandy spot.
You can see all the soccer lines in the outfields. If you go look at our facility over in Hereford, we do them in black. They won't be in white. You can't see them from the benches, and you can't see them from the bleachers. But that's utilized space, making them very multi-purpose. We'll put the big field.
How many soccer fields can
total you can have at any given time? About 31 soccer fields from north to south.
Yeah, and you notice the outfield of the baseball fields and So and different size soccer fields for different age groups. For age groups.
The younger, there's more in the younger groups than there are in the older groups. So you need more of the smaller fields, and as you age up, you'll see some of the bigger fields here in a little bit.
How much turf is that?
About 36 acres of turf.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It doesn't do justice for what we're looking at.
36 acres.
Yeah, 36 acres. You start figuring that, and it gets big. And all of these peripheral areas around the baseball fields will not be turf. Those will be landscaped areas, so that's not including turf in those areas. But all of the interior turfs on the fields and the multi-purpose section up top, it's about 36 acres of turf.
Okay, yeah.
Just different views, gives you a little different perspective. I think they've done a great job, laying it out and letting everybody see. So everybody sees all the fields that have the Kids Inc. logos in them. Those are flag football fields. We'll continue to play all of our tackle games at the middle school fields.
Okay.
There's 9 of those available to us. AISD is so gracious to let us use those. And so there was no reason whatsoever for us to duplicate that kind of space out here, because it would have taken up and taken away from dedicated flag fields or dedicated soccer fields or dedicated baseball fields or softball fields. And so we focused on flag, soccer, and baseball and softball out here, knowing that we've got tackle fields that we can use that are turfed, that are state-of-the-art, that the school district allows us to use. So you've got 2 regulation soccer fields kind of there at the top, going up by the driving range. And inside those, underneath them, there will be the one on the left, there's 10 3v3 fields. The one on the right, there's 2 9v9 fields. Across, going with the flag football fields, there'll be 3 7v7 fields, and then there's 7v7. The big baseball field will have a 9v9 field in it, and then more of our 3v3 fields out there. So my goal and my hope is at some point in time when this is done, that working with Shane Farrell and the Skip Farrell 3v3 event that they have every year, that becomes an event that we have out here. We could probably have, oh my gosh, of those small fields, we could probably put close to 50 fields if needed.
Wow.
40 cool. For sure.
That'd be way cool.
That we can just chalk mark and modularize those and have a really big 3v3 soccer event for them out there.
The larger blue top building.
Mm-hmm. You'll see that closer up.
Okay.
So you don't see the fencing up yet, and I mean there's just a lot of things that aren't finalized.
Yeah.
Haley's going to do some brickwork around the flagpoles. We're going to do some brick sales and have people opportunity for people to buy bricks and have their names in them. Just again, another view of the entrances. One of the things that our software system will allow us to do is we'll kind of dedicate each one of these parking places with a color or a name or whatever, so that when on your schedule it'll tell you may want to park in the red zone because that's going to be the closest entrance to your field. And
love that.
Yeah, so we'll try to fix it where it makes it convenient. When people pull in, they're going to know where the best place to park. This is over on the multi-purpose side, your main entrance, and you can see how we've got concept for food trucks, a big shade structure in there, restrooms back in the back, and kind of centralized right smack dab in the middle of that piece of the complex over there.
Very nice.
Yeah, but just a big shade structure. And
Yeah.
And there will be other shade structures around the fields too. Once we figure out what those look like and how those are going to work. With the Texas winds, we got to figure out what's. My idea is kind of like what you see at the car dealerships. Those awnings that they put over cars now. A lot of the insurance companies are requiring those car dealerships to put those up. And I don't know exactly how that works, because once you put it in fixed, it's fixed. And we have some modular reasons for, needing to move fields around with chalk paint from time to time. So we're still trying to decide what those might look like. And but we'll have other shade structures out on the fields as well. But these are ones that'll be permanent. It just gives you a little view. And
yeah, it looks great.
Yeah. And then there'll be shade structures. You can see the shade structures over all the bleachers.
Right.
Over on the baseball and softball side.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
How about the lighting, Jimmy?
Yeah, I can't remember how many we've counted. I can't remember how many light fixtures there were. It was like 80.
Yeah.
80 light fixtures. Every field on the whole complex will be lit, whether it's on the multipurpose side or on the baseball and softball side. So it'll be well lit, all LED. The lighting on this complex it's going to kind of overrun the golf course's lighting that they've had out there forever. No pick on them. It's just they've got an older lighting system, and
they do.
Probably on the golf course side, there may be some additional illumination on the golf course coming from ours. I don't know yet, but
golfers won't mind that at all.
No.
Yeah,
but just you get
very cool.
Yeah,
yes.
they give you a really good look at what all this, and there'll be some changes to some of this, and but the general layout of it is pretty firm. And this is inside the
right.
baseball and softball. There'll be concessions and restrooms. We've got to have umpires' rooms and things of that nature. So these spaces will have those as well. They may or may not look exactly like that. Roof lines may be different, but the shade structures are really important to us. We have those in Elk City. And they're game changers, having those shade structures.
Did you notice there's a playoff game in Elk City?
Yeah.
This from one of our local teams.
Yeah, it's a great field.
Yeah.
That you're talking about a big field now. That they've added the center field fence now, because it used to go to a point, and now they put the curved fence in out there. But that got done in 2019 when we turfed the other 5 plexes, and so. I know that facility very well, and Mr. Duggar actually played in that ballpark in the 30s when it was built.
That is cool.
WPA project. So yeah, it's.
What really thrills you, Jimmy? What when you see the whole picture of what's possible here? What really thrills you?
Well, having been in Elk City now for 10 years, and we've been in Hereford for 11. And we built an indoor soccer arena in Hereford. We built an outdoor soccer field that has flag football fields on it. And now we have the new 4-plex for baseball and softball. And then we have 2 5-plexes in Elk City that we play baseball and softball on. I know how much they get used.
Yeah.
And I know when they walk in, from a player and coaching standpoint, they're playing on a field that's pristine, and the bad hops are taken out of the picture, and when it rains, wait it out and go. Whether it's soccer or flag football or whatever, you can play, and you don't have to mow them, you don't have to fertilize them. They're green in the winter.
Yeah,
there's just so many advantages, and I know that there's probably some disadvantages with turf as well. Heat being one of them, they can get warm.
They can get warm, but
I will tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a story, and AISD may not want to hear this.
Yeah.
So in our process of visiting with design teams, the design team that we're working with, that the architects are working with, they're out of Dallas, and they help design these type facilities. So they work directly with the architects so that they can come up with the renderings and the specs for it. So Craig and I got on the phone with them one day, and we were asking them about infills of turf, because we all know the rubber infill, the original rubber infills that came in with turf, and the rooster tails you see when they slide, and you see them on TV, and then they've come out with what they call these cooling infills that are made from different fibers and different sources. They call them iliac seeds. They're off olive trees, the olive seeds, or I've heard cork being used, and they blend that in with some of the rubber, and it supposedly cools the turf. And so Craig took our heat gun last summer, just out of curiosity, and Emerald High just finished doing their new field over there. They just finished doing that field, so he took the heat gun out there, and it was 158 on the turf. And,
wow.
It was a 95, 100-degree day when he did it. And he headed straight over to Bonham, weather-wise, just a few blocks away, so he was kind of in the same climate area, 152, and theirs is all rubber. The infill on the newer football fields at the high schools has that cooling infill in it. So we're like, well, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So when we were visiting with the design team, I really appreciate, if nothing else, I appreciated them the most for this piece of news, and it made total sense to me. We said, tell us about these cooling infills, because they're much more costly. They're at least 30 to 40% higher than just rubber infill. And they said, there is no advantage for you in the Texas Panhandle to have a cooling infill. And I went, whoa, hang on a minute. Everybody under the sun's trying to sell us all these cooling infills. Explain that to me. They said, y'all don't have free reign. I said, okay, you've lost me. What does free reign mean?
Yeah, exactly.
We don't have rain, period.
We don't.
I'm interested. What's free reign? He said, so think about it. He goes, you've been to the Metroplex. And I said, yeah. And he said, what's on the ground in the mornings in the Metroplex? I said, dew.
Yeah.
He said, exactly. He goes, do you have dew in the Panhandle? I said, sometimes, not much. He said, so think about this. Overnight in the Metroplex, he goes, south of Lubbock. Let's just talk south of Lubbock, south of Wichita Falls. Just kind of draw you a line. Humidity's higher. And so overnight, that humidity gets down into those fields. And those wood substances that are blended in, soak it in. Okay? I said, all right, I'm with you so far. He said, the rubber doesn't do that. The infill does. He said, so as the sun comes up, they start to evaporate. But by 2 o'clock, it's all gone.
Yeah.
So if you're playing games in the evenings, that turf's still going to be hot. Or you waiting for them to get out of school or whatever, the turf's still going to be hot. So you got to play your games in the morning. So if you had all games in the morning in Dallas, it might help. But by afternoon, all of that evaporation has occurred.
Wow, I love the honesty.
And you lose the advantage, if you will,
of the coolant.
Of the cooling infill.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when you think about us here, and majority of our games are evenings and weekends, be great on Saturday if we had the moisture content here.
Right, right.
But we don't.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's why he said, Jimmy said, there is no advantage for you all to even remotely consider that extra expense. And I'm thinking, now this is a designer that sells this stuff and works with these contractors for a living, these turf companies. And you just shot him in the foot, but I appreciate it. Because it made perfect sense.
It totally makes sense.
We're so dry.
Yeah, yeah.
And even though, and I think anybody that's been around here for any length of time will tell you, we're more humid today than we used to be. There's days it's humid, we're thinking, my gosh, and you go down, get past Wichita Falls, and we're like, okay, now we know humidity. That's a little drier. Yeah. But I thought, what a story, and what a little bit of a sales pitch for us. It made it solidify what we need to do.
I mean, due diligence, way to do your homework. So yeah.
Anyway,
it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and we get some really cool looks at it, and they can do anything. These architects, we just got to make sure that it's practical.
Yeah,
and everything that we do is
on a typical Saturday. You'll have how many kids out there?
Oh my gosh,
you know what I mean?
I don't even know.
Okay, I mean, yeah.
It's
going to be amazing though, just to see the fields packed.
Yeah.
With kids.
I mean, you start talking about having, like, I'm just using Skip Farrell as an example. If we could get them to have that event out there, 3v3 on 40-some-odd fields, my gosh, there's going to be parents and kids everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what we want.
One thing I like about that, also the parking can facilitate that as well.
We
really don't have a place like that in anywhere around here.
There's going to be days when that's probably not enough parking.
Yeah, but
it's better than anything you got right now.
Right. Yeah. Totally. So I think it's going to be it's a cliche, but a game changer here in Amarillo. Mm-hmm. But like you said, you've experienced it in Elk City and Hereford. I love what you said. Like, those kids show up and they're proud to walk out on that field. That's my field. That's my Rockrose Park. You know what I mean? I'm thrilled to be playing it for Kids Inc. on such a classy field. So it'll be a lot of fun. And because the dust is real in Amarillo, okay?
Oh yeah,
and that's one thing you didn't even mention that we will. I mean, there's going to be dust. We're in there, but you're going to avoid all those type of games on a dirt field.
I will tell you this. So, we work like the Dickens in the city in Hereford, and everybody over there just helped us cabin us, and everybody helped us get those fields ready. And then we had those massive windstorms. Remember, we had the one right before our first tournament over there,
which even for us was vital.
Oh, it was just
it was worst
insane.
I can remember.
It was insane, and so we had 30 people from the city out there helping us just get tumbleweeds and everything cleaned up so we could play the next day. And you look out there, and Craig and our crew over there had been grooming the fields, and they were pristine. And all this dirt blows in, and our infields are brown turf, and now they're dusty brown because they got dirt. It's just. And then we got the rain. Man, I can see them on our cameras from the camera view, and I haven't flown a drone over them after a rain, but there's a big difference. They're beautiful after a rain, and that dust settles and cleans them up, and and gets that dust off the top of them. They're really, really, really pretty, and so. Just having fields that are ready to play every day, that people aren't having to, like Amarillo College, if they practice out there, they don't have to worry about raking the mound and dragging the fields and getting all those things that they had to spend their time doing. Every baseball team in the Panhandle had to do. Now we're moving to these turf systems, and that cuts out a lot of time and work for folks. It costs a little more up front, but in the long run, your savings on water and water being precious as it is. Water being precious as it is here is a huge savings, and just the maintenance is different. It's so much less maintenance on the actual fields themselves.
I enjoyed the insight. I really did. I mean, anybody who's interested in that, I'm sure you did as well. So I appreciate you doing that.
I really hope, and I hope my construction team's listening. We need to be moving dirt late July, early August, and we need to get this thing going.
I think it'll be very exciting for a lot of Amarillo, just to see some activity out there. We've talked about that in the board meetings and stuff like that, and everybody's been patient. You've been the most patient, but it's going to happen. It is going to happen. Okay, don't ask him for an exact deadline date or anything, but it's here. It's here.
Yeah. So. On the dollar side, just so everybody's updated with that as well, we have a $30 million goal. We're sitting at about 26.1.
Wow!
So we are way down the road, creeping in on 90% of the campaign total. But we feel confident in getting started and getting this thing up and running. I have all the faith in the world that the remaining funding is out there. We're so far down the road. I mean, another $3 or $4 million is a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
But we've raised 26 of it, and so we've got some leads out there where that might be sitting, but we still need people contributing to the project. So please go to kidsinc.org and Rockrose Sports Park.
It's going to be something special, man. Yeah. Appreciate your time.
You bet.
All right, hey, hope you enjoyed that one. It's a little different than what we normally do, but really insightful, Jimmy. I really love that.
Yeah, go to kidsinc.org, click on the Fieldhouse Podcast, and watch this on YouTube. And you'll really get a good feel for what we're doing today. And fieldhousepodcast.org is our website for the podcast. And you can click on episode 47 and watch it on the YouTube there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. John Lynch, we both kind of went with
it.
That's not our normal style. So, hey, thank you for joining us today. And just want to remind you, this is a production of the Kids Inc. Sports Network. And this is the Fieldhouse Podcast. And like I always say, we'll see you when we see you.